Meet the most uncoverable rookie in NFL history. Randy Moss caught touchdowns like other receivers caught a cold.
I told you and I told you. Touchdown!
In 1998, as a rookie, he hauled in 17 touchdown passes, an NFL rookie record that still stands today, 26 years later. But that number doesn't tell the whole story. He didn't just catch passes, he rewrote the laws of physics. Defensive backs who had shut down entire offenses for years
They can't jump with me.
suddenly looked like they were moving in slow motion. Cornerbacks started having panic attacks in film sessions. Safety help became mandatory on every single snap. "You got mossed" became the cruelest taunt in football. And defensive coordinators across the league started having nightmares about a skinny kid from West Virginia who ran past their best players like they were standing still. Randy wasn't just fast. He was basketball tall at 6 feet 4 inches, had hands softer than silk, possessed a 43-inch vertical leap, and played like every defensive back had personally disrespected his family before kickoff. He'd catch passes one-handed just to flex on defenders. He'd run routes so crisp they belonged in a textbook. And when the ball was in the air, it was like he had a magnetic force field around him. And this was a guy who almost never made it to the NFL at all.
Anybody pay attention to Viking football? 84 don't stretch on game day. I come ready.
Character concerns, off-field issues, and a tumultuous college career made him radioactive to most teams. 20 NFL franchises had the chance to draft Randy Moss in the first round. 20 teams said no thanks and chose players who are now completely forgotten. Now Randy's in the Hall of Fame, revolutionized an entire position, and forever changed how defenses had to think about covering receivers. But how did he become the most uncoverable rookie receiver the league has ever seen? Why did everyone sleep on him until it was too late? And how did one draft decision change the trajectory of an entire franchise? Randy wasn't born destined for greatness. He was born in Rand, West Virginia. Population 800 on a good day. If you blinked while driving through, you'd miss it entirely. This wasn't exactly fertile ground for producing NFL superstars. His mom, Maxine, worked multiple jobs to keep the lights on. She cleaned houses, worked at a nursing home, did whatever it took to provide for Randy and his siblings. Football wasn't just Randy's escape, it was his mom's hope for a better life. Even as a little kid, Randy was different. While other children were playing with toys, Randy was obsessing over football. He'd catch passes one-handed, just because he could. He'd outrun kids 3 years older without breaking a sweat. And he had this swagger, this unshakable confidence that made you believe he could do anything. "I'm going to the NFL," he'd tell anyone who would listen. In a town where most kids' biggest dream was working at the local mine, Randy Moss was planning his escape route. By the time he reached DuPont High School, Randy was already a local legend. But here's the crazy part. He wasn't even primarily a receiver. Randy also played safety, returned kicks and punts, and basically did everything except sell popcorn at halftime. In his 3-year varsity career, Randy had 108 receptions for 2,586 yards and 68 carries for 1,049 yards, including 64 total touchdowns. That's not a player, that's a one-man wrecking crew. College scouts weren't just interested, they were salivating. Notre Dame wanted him desperately. Florida State was begging for his signature. Miami was promising him immediate playing time. Randy Moss was supposed to be the next big thing, the 5-star recruit who would change college football forever. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. It was October of his senior year when everything fell apart. A racial incident at his high school turned into a confrontation. What should have been a minor teenage mistake escalated into something much worse. Randy was facing serious jail time and a felony charge that could destroy his entire future. The powerhouse programs that were begging for his signature, gone. Notre Dame? Sorry, we'll take someone else. Florida State? Don't call us, we'll call you. Miami? Good luck in community college. Randy's world crumbled overnight. The kid who was supposed to be playing on Saturdays in front of 80,000 people was now facing the possibility of playing pickup games in a prison yard. His mom was devastated. His coaches were heartbroken. And Randy? Randy was learning one of life's harshest lessons. Sometimes your past follows you, no matter how fast you can run. But Florida State's Bobby Bowden, one of the most respected coaches in college football, threw Randy a lifeline. Son, if you can get your legal issues sorted out and stay out of trouble, we'll honor that scholarship offer. Randy did everything right. Community service, staying home, keeping his nose clean. He thought he was headed to Tallahassee to play for one of the best programs in the country. But then, just weeks before National Signing Day, Florida State changed their mind. The administration got cold feet. They didn't want the baggage. They didn't want the media attention. They didn't want to take a risk on a kid from small-town West Virginia who might bring negative headlines. Randy Moss was damaged goods, and everyone knew it. So he ended up at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. If you're thinking, Marshall who? You're not alone. They played in the Mid-American Conference, had about as much name recognition as a local YMCA league, and were coming off a 6-5 season. Not exactly the football powerhouse most five-star recruits dream of. Randy went from potentially playing at Notre Dame to suiting up for a school most people couldn't find on a map. But sometimes the best things happen when your back's against the wall. And Randy was about to prove that to the entire college football world. He had a chip on his shoulder the size of West Virginia, and he was ready to show everyone who had written him off exactly what they'd missed.
Congratulations, 3 touchdown catches in the first half from this man to your left.
Oh yeah, I meant a lot. We had to come out here and get ourselves together and just play hard.
As a freshman at Marshall, Randy exploded onto the scene like a firework in a phone booth. 78 catches, 1,709 yards, 28 touchdowns. Marshall went undefeated, finished 15-0, and won the NCAA Division 1A a national championship. Pretty impressive numbers for a kid playing against MAC defenses. But Randy wasn't satisfied with pretty impressive. He wanted to make a statement that would be heard all the way to South Beach and South Bend. It was his sophomore year that changed everything. Randy put up numbers that belonged in a video game, not real life. 96 catches, 1,820 yards, 26 touchdowns. He was catching and scoring touchdowns from everywhere on the field. 80-yard bombs where he'd run past entire secondaries. 40-yard slants where he'd break tackles and outrun linebackers. 15-yard comebacks where he'd catch the ball in traffic and somehow emerge with the touchdown. His sheer dominance earned him the Biletnikoff Award for the best college receiver, while being voted 4th in the Heisman race. Randy wasn't just the best player in his conference. He was putting up numbers that made people question whether he belonged in a higher division entirely. Suddenly, everyone knew the name Randy Moss. ESPN was showing his highlights. Sports Illustrated was writing feature articles. The kid from Rand, West Virginia was becoming a household name. But the damage was already done in the eyes of NFL scouts. They still saw the off-field issues from high school. They saw a small school player who might not translate to the big leagues. They saw someone who didn't fit their mold of what an NFL receiver should be. Sure, he's putting up numbers against MAC defenses, they'd say, but can he do it against real competition? By the time the 1998 NFL Draft rolled around, Randy had put up absolutely ridiculous numbers for 2 straight years. 174 catches, 3,529 yards, 54 touchdowns in his final 2 college seasons. He'd broken more records than a frustrated musician. But team after team found reasons to pass on him. The Indianapolis Colts had the first pick and were deciding between quarterbacks. They took Peyton Manning, which worked out pretty well for them. But then the fun started. San Diego at 2, they took a quarterback named Ryan Leaf. We all know how that turned out. Jacksonville at 8, running back. Green Bay at 18, they took a defensive end named Vonnie Holliday. Ever heard of him? Neither has anyone else. 20 teams had a chance to draft Randy Moss in the first round, and 20 teams said thanks, but no thanks. They were worried about character. They were concerned about off-field issues. They questioned whether his college production would translate. What they were really doing was overthinking themselves right out of drafting one of the most talented players in NFL history. But there was one team that saw what everyone else missed: the Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings have selected wide receiver from Marshall University, Randy Moss.
Picking 21st, had done their homework on Randy Moss. Head coach Dennis Green knew talent when he saw it. He'd been watching Randy's college tape and couldn't believe what he was seeing. Randy Carter, their receivers coach, had been tracking Randy since his freshman year at Marshall. They didn't care about the character concerns. They didn't care about the small school. They saw a 6'4" receiver who ran a legitimate 4.25 40-yard dash and caught everything thrown his way with hands that belonged in a museum. With the 21st pick in the 1998 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Randy Moss, wide receiver, Marshall University. 20 teams would regret that decision for the next decade and a half.
They call me the freak, man. I'm a freak of nature. You're gonna see today, just keep your eyes glued to the TV.
And some of them are probably still regretting it today. But even the Vikings didn't know what they had. They thought they were getting a talented receiver with some upside who might develop into something special over a few years. What they got was a cheat code that broke the NFL from day one. The transformation was immediate and terrifying for opposing defenses. From the very first practice, Vikings veterans were shaking their heads in disbelief. This rookie is different, Carter was telling anyone who would listen. He's not running routes, he's painting masterpieces. Week 1, 1998, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Randy's first NFL game. The Bucs had one of the better defenses in the league, anchored by Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks. They'd been studying film on Randy and thought they had him figured out. 4 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Welcome to the NFL, Randy Moss. The kid hadn't just arrived. He'd announced himself like a fireworks show on the 4th of July. Week 2 against the St. Louis Rams. 5 catches, 190 yards, 1 touchdown. The Rams defense looked like they were moving underwater, while Randy operated in fast forward. Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, 2 of the best receivers in the league, were watching from the sideline in amazement. But it was Week 4 against the Green Bay Packers that truly announced Randy Moss to the football world. The Packers weren't just good, they were great. They had Reggie White wreaking havoc up front. They had Leroy Butler patrolling the secondary. They had guys who had been shutting down Pro Bowl receivers for years. None of that mattered. Randy caught 5 passes for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 52-yard bomb where he ran past Pro Bowl cornerback Craig Newsome like he was standing in quicksand. After that game, defensive coordinators across the league started having emergency meetings. How do you cover a guy who's 6 feet 4 inches, runs like a track star, jumps like a basketball player, and catches passes in traffic like he's playing catch with his nephew in the backyard? Double him? He'd find the soft spot in coverage and make you pay. Bump him at the line? Good luck. He was too tall, too fast, and too smart. Play him physical? He'd toast you deep on the very next play and celebrate while doing it. By mid-season, Randy wasn't just having a good rookie year. He was systematically rewriting the record books while making it look effortless. The NFL rookie record for touchdown receptions was 13. Set by the great Jerry Rice back in 1985. Randy broke that record in Week 13, with 4 games still left to play. He wasn't just breaking Rice's record, he was demolishing it while hardly breaking a sweat. The final numbers were absolutely absurd. 69 catches for 1,313 yards and 17 touchdowns. 17 touchdowns as a rookie. To put that in perspective, there were entire teams that didn't score 17 offensive touchdowns that season. Randy was a one-man highlight reel, a walking SportsCenter top 10, and a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare, all rolled into one. But the numbers don't capture the pure terror Randy put into opposing defenses. Quarterbacks started looking his way first on every single play because they knew he was probably open. Even when he was covered, defensive coordinators had to completely change their game plans, dedicating extra defenders just to slow him down. And fans? They came to games specifically to see what impossible catch Randy would make next. The Randy Moss effect wasn't just individual. It transformed the entire Vikings organization. They went from a 9-7 team the year before to a 15-1 juggernaut with Randy in the lineup. They scored 556 points in 16 games, setting an NFL record that stood for years. And most of those points came from Randy Moss doing things that defied both physics and common sense. There was the 51-yarder against Chicago where he caught the ball over 2 defenders while falling backward, somehow maintaining perfect body control. The 56-yard touchdown against Detroit, where he ran past the entire secondary like they were running through mud. The game winner against Green Bay in the playoffs, where he caught a pass in triple coverage and somehow held on to it despite taking a massive hit. By the end of the season, there was no debate about any major award. Randy Moss was the unanimous Offensive Rookie of the Year. He made the Pro Bowl in his first season, and he had fundamentally changed how teams thought about the wide receiver position forever. Before Randy Moss, receivers were route runners who had to earn their catches through precision and fundamentals. Randy just ran past you and caught it anyway, turning the position into an art form. Before Randy, defenses could get away with single coverage on most receivers most of the time. With Randy on the field, you needed help over the top on every single snap, or you were asking to get embarrassed on national television. The kid from a town of 800 people who almost went to jail instead of college had just put together the greatest rookie receiving season in NFL history. He'd proven that sometimes the best players come from the places you least expect, and that talent will always find a way to shine through. Randy Moss didn't just catch passes. He caught dreams and turned them into nightmares for every defensive back who had to line up across from him. He was the most unstoppable rookie receiver the league had ever seen, and he was just getting started. Meet the most uncoverable rookie in NFL history. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more legendary football stories every week. End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.